If a test score could be accurately predicted based on the color of your skin, should it be used in college admittance? My purpose today is to persuade you that the abolishment of the SAT and ACT for college admittance would be better for all college applicants. I've studied peer-reviewed data reports and statistics extensively for weeks on the pros and cons of using the SAT and ACT for college admittance. After all the research I've done, I've concluded that the tests are not accurately depicting students' abilities. The colleges are promoting a biased system to help the already advantaged, and after this discussion, you'll believe it too. First, we will discuss the problems surrounding the SAT and ACTs. Then we will move on to the reasons they're still being used. Then we will learn a solution to the problem, and finally we will end by reviewing all of today's information. With our roadmap in place, let's begin discussing the issue at hand. The problem is that the SAT and ACT are biased and cater to an already privileged group. For example, after countless data collections on the SAT and ACT scores, in accordance to race and ethnicity, a student's score can be accurately predicted solely based on their race and ethnicity. In a 2019 peer-reviewed report by the Center for Racial Equality in Education, written by topic experts Nicholas P. Triplett and James E. Ford, it has been consistently recorded that other than Asians, all ethnic groups test significantly lower on tests than their white classmates, which you can see here. This data is so consistent that other than giftedness, race is the most accurate predictor for test scores, regardless of high school GPA. If a student's score can be predicted by their ethnicity and white and Asian categories are the top testers, could you argue that colleges can predict what races will be admitted? Another example of this problem is most underprivileged students don't have access to reliable transportation, accommodations, funds, or tutors. So how are they supposed to prepare for the test, pay for the test, or get to the test? According to SAT and ACT websites, they are only offered in English. What this means is someone who speaks English as a second language must take the exact same test as someone who knows and understands full English. In very few high schools, you can request an accommodation through your school counselor if given ample notice. This also means that anyone with a learning disability, such as autism, regardless of GPA or future college ADA protected accommodation approvals, cannot get test-taking accommodations. On top of all of that, underprivileged city areas don't have access to a lot of transportation. This makes it hard for underprivileged students to get to the test or prep centers in a timely manner or at all. And statistically and historically, these underprivileged communities are widely brown and black communities, which brings us right back to the bias embedded in these tests. Now that we have talked about the problem, let's discuss the cause to the problem. There are two reasons colleges are still using these tests in their admittance procedures. First, it has been believed that these tests depict how students will perform during their college career. Some data produced by the College Board in 2019 argues that the higher the test score, the better a student's GPA in college. However, this data is only accurate for the first year of college. Another report put out by the Government Education website stated that the best way to truly predict a student's success in college, including retention past the first year, especially in math and English, is through their high school GPA. Second, they claim it helps underprivileged students get into colleges that they normally wouldn't. Individual universities such as Colorado State and Georgia State, according to multiple sources, offer students with high test scores scholarship opportunities. The College Board, according to their website, takes it one step further and offers scholarships for things like practicing the SAT or ACT, taking the test, increasing your scores, and more. This means a student who otherwise might not be able to pay for college gets a chance at getting help to pay for their education. However, if the student doesn't have the resources to get to or to take the required tests, as many underprivileged students don't, how are the tests helping them? The National Center for Education Statistics states there are over 24,000 secondary schools, which are junior and senior high schools. Though of those 24,000 schools, the College Board reports that only 9,000 participate in the SAT school day, which is where the students take the SAT at the school. After their high school. After living in Rochester, Washington and Tacoma, Washington, I can say firsthand, underprivileged and underdeveloped, underfunded areas in cities often don't have much options for public transportation to get to and from the test or test prep tutoring center, if there even is one. The test also costs money, which is hard for a lot of underprivileged students to get. Now that we've discussed the causes, let's talk about the solution. The solution is clear. Stop using the SAT and ACT in college admittance. The first benefit is a more accurate reading for the future performance and retainment for all students of all backgrounds. As we talked about previously, the government education website says it's more accurate to use high school GPA for college success and retention prediction. By getting rid of these test scores in admissions procedures, it would put the focus back on the student's high school performance. This would also get rid of the potential bias that the Center of Racial Equality in Education found in the prediction of SAT and ACT scores by race that colleges admit students by. The second benefit is fair and competitive college admittance procedures for all students of all backgrounds. As we talked about before, the SAT and ACT websites say that the tests do not allow for accommodations for students with language barriers, unless the school allows for waivers submitted far ahead of time. But for those who can't pay for the tutoring or the test, or get transportation to tutoring or the test itself, there is no waiver or bus. According to the SAT and ACT websites, they don't even allow for disability accommodations, as a student would be obligated to in high schools as well as colleges after admittance. If the tests were gone, the colleges would have to base their decision on their high school performance like everyone else, no matter their language, disability, or poverty level. With our solution to the problem clear and stated, let's recap what we've discussed. First, we learned that the problem is the use of the SAT and ACT in college admittance. They are unfair to the already underprivileged students affected by poverty, disabilities, language barriers, and biased towards minority ethnicities and by being able to be predicted based on their ethnicity. Next, we learned the causes of why the SAT and ACT remain an issue. The SAT and ACT have been believed to be able to provide college opportunities for the underprivileged and help aid in the prediction of how a student will perform in college. However, these scores only help in the first year of college performance prediction, and high school GPA is a stronger predictor according to many sources. And while yes, a student could get scholarships from the SAT and ACT scores, you can't help the underprivileged if they can't get to the test or pay for the test or read it in their own language. Finally, we learned that a good solution would be to stop using the SAT and ACT in college admittance. By getting rid of them, there will be a better chance for underprivileged students to be admitted into colleges by predicting their college performance and their high school performance right along all of their other classmates. There will be a much less chance of a biased admittance, since the test scores that would have been there would have been predicted on race and ethnicity. They're no longer there. I had spent countless hours gathering information on the good and bad of these standardized tests before coming to an informed position that they are biased, unfair, and inaccurate predictors of performance. I presented the problem, the cause, and the solution for you, and I have no doubt that you would agree that there is no reason we should be using a test to admit students into a college if the student scores can be accurately predicted by the color of their skin.